Now, another topic that's going to generate a lot of discussion regarding oil filters is, do you need to pre-fill your oil filter before you put it on? You see, when I was younger, up until most recently, to be honest with you, I always had pre-filled. Until I watched a video on YouTube of a mechanic that down in Florida, maybe you watch it, maybe you don't. It's called, his page, I believe, is Rain Man Repairs. And he explained to me, he didn't explain to me, he explained to all the viewers why he does not pre-fill oil filters. And when I heard his explanation, I was like, okay, well, I need to look into this to see if, you know, he's right or wrong. And the reality is, he was right. And his reasoning behind not pre-filling the oil filter is this. See these brand new oil containers right on the shelf at your auto parts store? There is no industry standards for purity and quality of what is inside this container. You can go ahead, you don't have to take my word for it. Look it up all you want. You are not going to find it. It does not exist. What that means is, if there are no standards for the quality of the oil or the lack of contaminants inside the oil in this container right off the shelf, is that no standards, no quality checks, no accountability. So there is actually a possibility of introducing contaminants into your oil system just by simply adding the oil into your engine. Now, the reason why not putting it into your oil filter is because I'll be willing to bet that people who do pre-fill these oil filter, probably somewhere in the 90 percentile, maybe even 97, 98% of people who do pre-fill an oil filter are doing it wrong. Now you can see this oil filter here. There's the little holes on the outside. There's a big hole right in the middle. So I'm sure, just like I was, a lot of people who pre-fill the oil filter go ahead and they just dump the oil right in here, right in the big hole, fill it up, slap it on. The reason why that is a bad idea, given the first point of the fact that there are no industry standards for the quality of the oil that is in the container, this hole right in the middle is the hole where the oil is sucked up and circulated into your engine. So the possibility of contaminants already existing in the container, in the oil, you're dumping it right into here, where those contaminants are not going to be filtered out and circulated through your engine one go before the oil goes into the inlet holes of the filter and the media does its job. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably saying, well, what about oil starvation? Oil starvation. Well, see, when you're changing your oil, first of all, the engine should be warm. You should have run the engine for a few minutes, get it up to temperature, which means all the moving parts inside the engine are going to have a thin coat of protection on them. The job itself is really not going to take, really shouldn't take you longer than 10 minutes, if that, to change the oil. Therefore, that layer of protection is still going to exist after you've started the engine, after filling in with your new oil. Now, most engines, as soon as you start them up, they're going to generate anywhere from 20, 25 psi of oil pressure up to 50 even at idle, which is going to take a small fraction of a second to fill this up and get it out into your engine. So oil starvation it's not an issue. It's just not going to have an impact. And given the possibility of introducing contaminants into your engine one time around, depending on the contaminant, it can actually be catastrophic. So no, there is no reason to pre-fill your filter. In addition, not all oil filters, or not all vehicles, when you put the oil filter on, it's going to be like this. Some oil filters go on like so. There are even some oil filters, some vehicles with oil filters that actually fit on like this. So there's no way you're going to pre-fill it and just dump your oil all over the place. There's just no point. So the only exception I would make to that is diesel engines. And why diesel engines? Well, you've seen the size of the oil filter that I put on, that we're going to be putting on the car, the Hemi. Diesel oil filters can sometimes be even this big. Okay, now we're not talking about a fraction of a second to fill this and get the oil circulated out. We're talking a couple of seconds, so yeah, you know what? Diesel engines probably a better situation where you take the chance on pre-filling the oil filter just to make sure. So let's get back to the job.